I've been much further down the Nexus rabbit hole since I made my Essential Mods video, and though it's only been a month, it feels like a good time to remake it. Alongside the mods I previously featured, I have plenty more to throw in the pot. Give the video a thumbs up if you find any new mods here today, and don't forget to give endorsements to mods you enjoy. First mod is Baldur'S priority. It elevates the CPU priority of the game permanently, instead of having to do it manually each time you launch the game. This can be achieved by installing the mod or doing a registry edit. Instructions for both methods can be found on the mod's description page. Act 3 is a sumo wrestler, and your poor CPU is an all-you-can-eat buffet, making this mod as essential as it gets. The next few mods are important dependencies which just about everybody is using at this point, starting out with Script Extender, specifically the version with the console. A lot more mods are requiring this now, and it allows mods to be implemented in a much cleaner way. For the most part, you just install it and forget about it, but the console will allow you to input some commands if you ever have the need. And the enabling of achievements while mods are installed, though Achievement Enabler, which I featured previously, still works for that, so take your pick. Make sure to keep it up to date. Just in case anybody has the wrong idea, you definitely do still need to be using the mod fixer. You just might not think that you do because it's already packaged in with so many other mods on Nexus. Compatibility framework is what's going to allow you to install multiple subclass mods without conflicts. It doesn't mean that every single subclass mod that uses compatibility framework will be conflict free, but it does go a long way. I'll be sure to go more in depth on this topic in future videos. Everything which will be showcased is of course compatible with improved UI, which is necessary for a lot of mods to function. Don't forget the improved UI optional files, improved UI dialog having the bottom left buttons only show when relevant, and improved UI assets, which is needed for subclass icons to be compatible with each other. I'll get back to more UI mods towards the end of this video. A nice handful of mods many people use require native mod loader to function, including the next two mods which you've probably seen before. With WASD character movement, you can have true directional movement with a keyboard just like a controller. You can toggle it on and off with the caps lock key, beyond essential for anyone who plays ARPGs. Native camera tweaks provides more camera control. It's configurable and I plan on making a video playing around with some different configurations. I personally prefer this mod much more for exploration than combat. It tends to zoom out more than I'd like in combat, and the default combat camera never really bothered me. So subscribe for that future video. A perfect example of a useful mod requiring Script Extender is Tutorial Chest Summoning, with its implementation being a lot cleaner when using the Script Extender version. It's a nifty mod for accessing all those modded items when you're mid-playthrough. Not being able to manage the inventory of our companions who are not currently in the party has been an annoyance for quite a while. Thankfully, the rather new mod, Bag of Campers Inventories, has a well done implementation to solve that inconvenience. It's had some quirks, but has also been getting plenty of updates, and is in a state where I definitely recommend using it. You're given the bag and a spell to summon the bag, and you peer through two different containers for each companion, one for their equipment and another for their inventory. It's simple and effective. In my opinion, Modular Highlight Tooltip is the best mod of its kind, highlighting more objects in the environment for a better looting experience. It's somewhat configurable as you can select which pack files you want to use. Personally, I use All-in-One Edition with the optional packs alongside it. Enhanced World Tooltips is the perfect pairing for all those objects which are now highlighted. It adds icons and colors to more objects, making everything much more identifiable at a glance. It also shows a dot on containers, which becomes an empty dot when a looted container is empty. It will also then grey out that tooltip and layer it behind other tooltips. Now, you can get an optional file from this mod to hide the tooltips for looted empty containers, but I prefer it as it comes. Being able to see what you have looted is just as useful as seeing what you haven't looted if you're being really thorough about it. Additionally, there's a file for toggle highlighting too, so you don't have to hold the Alt key if you wish. Get yourself a big sack full of bags. 21 new containers, 6 of which auto-sort items akin to the alchemy pouch from the base game. So, your character is dumb as rocks, they're trying to understand something magical, and Gale is just standing there, again. Well, unfortunately Baldur's Gate doesn't have a skills system like what you'd find in Pillars of Eternity Deadfire, where your companion's skills actually matter. But, with Use Highest Modifier in Dialogue, we can get something akin to that. It has multiple download options, as you'll be wanting a different version depending on whether you're playing single player or multiplayer. Stackable Items is great for reducing inventory clutter. It just makes items that previously did not stack do so, but it's got a few quirks. If an equipable item is in a stack, you can equip the whole stack. This does not provide any gameplay benefits, but it's whack. Splitting the stack while it's equipped can cause issues allegedly. It didn't for me when I tested it, but it's something to keep in mind when using this mod. Just split one item off the stack before equipping it, and you'll be all good. Killing merchants doesn't net you all of their stock. This is a pain when a lot of different outcomes can occur, locking you out of accessing sweet items. So with JWL, drop all the loot, we're going to change that. It's maybe a little unbalanced, but it's definitely immersive. I use this so I'm not locked out of items on a playthrough, and don't have to metagame by purchasing stuff from a guy I'm going to kill 5 seconds later. However, if this makes every vendor look like a loot pinata to you, and it starts making you do things you otherwise wouldn't do, then maybe don't install this one. Given you can magically send a seemingly unlimited amount of stuff to a chest in your camp, I'm just done with worrying about carrying capacity in this game. Carrying capacity is already a redundant mechanic in the base game, so just increase it for the sake of convenience. With carry weight increased up to over 9,000, it's got a bunch of different options, and this does not change strength requirements for picking up individual heavy objects. Going right along with increasing carry weight is infinite dies. There's no option to preview what a die will look like on a piece of gear, so save yourself a bunch of time and just get this mod. Unfortunately, the Drake General die does not seem to work with this mod, or other mods doing the same thing. Also, any mod which adds new dies to the game is already going to have infinite uses. Here's a couple of those mods. Definitely recommend these, they're much nicer than most of the vanilla die options. If you're like me and can't help but want to loot everything, even if that means literally spending hours of a playthrough picking up rotten food, then you might want to check out Customizable Auto Loot Aura Item Pickup AOE for Obsessive Hoarders. There are just some locations you walk into with an overwhelming amount of mundane loot. That's where this mod really shines. There's a lot of customization packed into this mod. I recommend getting an optional file to reduce the AOE down from 18 meters. You will get 3 items, 2 are infinite use potions, which toggle the auto looting on and off. The gold one won't steal, but the red one will. You will also get a bag called Extra Dimensional Storage. This is where all of the vacuumed loot will go. If you want the vacuumed loot to be auto sorted by your other containers, drop this bag on the ground and take all from it. As far as convenience mods go, I can't think of one that will save you more time than this. Unfortunately, containers looted this way will not actually show up in the tooltips as being looted. I do not recommend keeping the auto-looting on permanently. Use this mod very deliberately. Read the mod's description page thoroughly. Maybe changing colors isn't enough customization for you. Transmog Enhanced will let you swap the appearance of a piece of equipment for another. It works with a lot of modded items too. Say if you wanted to make a vanilla piece of armor look like something from Basket Full of Equipment. Make sure to read the instructions on the mod page. There's definitely a correct way of using this mod just to make sure nothing weird happens, though I haven't had a single issue with it. So, Divinity Original Sin had these really nifty little pyramids we could use to teleport around, and with pathing for our AI companions being pretty useless at times, I want a feature like that again. Teleport Party to You spell is a really simple implementation to solve that problem. Speak with Dead Reworks and Tweaks has some great options for improving the Speak with Dead spell. The primary simple change is it makes corpses which can be spoken to highlighted at all times, not just when you've already cast the spell successfully. There were numerous times where I ran past corpses I could speak to because they stopped getting highlighted after a long rest, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. You can also remove the 5-question limit, speak with damaged corpses, and make corpses speak with their killer if you wish. And from the same author, we've also got Tadpole dialogue without resting, allowing you to use the Tadpole dialogue interactions more frequently if you wish. I didn't even know there was a resting limit for this until I saw the mod. So in the base game, the difference in quality between the character models and their equipment is pretty noticeable. When I installed upscaled armor and clothes textures, I got quite the shock at just how much better it looks now. The best example of this mod in action on the page is definitely this chainmail comparison. If you've got a graphics card with some VRAM to spare, I highly recommend installing this. Not too many spell effects bother me, but Longstrider definitely does. Having your party glow blue for the entire game is horrible. Longstrider AOE fixes that, as well as making the cast AOE, so you don't have to cast it 4 or more times after a long rest. Some of the armors and clothing in vanilla are buggy, and there's mods to fix up some of them. Size Armour Fixes, Armour of Persistance Model Fix, and DavidJRose's Armour Fixes. Patch 3 fixed a few models, and the only recently updated mod is Size Armour Fixes, so I recommend just using that and keeping an eye on updates for the other two. And there's also a new mod, Backless Outfits Clipping Fix, for some clothes. Mods like these will be in and out of fashion as time goes on, and Larian fixes things on their end. If you've got some vanilla clothing or armor that seems to be buggy, it's worth seeing if there's a mod for it. I imagine a lot of you are using Aether's Immersive UI. I recommend that you use some of the mods coming up instead. The auto hide functions better, and you'll have far more customization to build the UI that you want. The one responsible for most of the changes I'll be showing is Pavelk, who is still pumping out absolute bangers to overhaul our UI. With no intro and no press any key menu, you can load into the game much faster. Something else that helps is skipping the launcher by putting this into your Baldur's Gate 3 launch settings on Steam, and I'm sure you can do the same for good old games. Just make sure it's set to the API you wish to use, DirectX 11 or Vulkan, before removing the launcher. Better Maps All-in-One allows you to remove the Fog of War, or make it transparent, remove the grid from the map, make the minimap draggable, have it auto-hide, and comes with new creature icons on the maps to show the direction they're facing. Better Hotbar 2 adds many more slots to the grid of your hotbar, an additional shutter bar for passives, and also has an auto-hide option. It comes in different sizes, scales, and for different resolutions, and unlike the previous version, is compatible with improved UI and most class mods. Though you should note the additional shutter can disappear if you drag it off the edge to the right, but following the instructions provided, it's quite easy to fix. Dynamic Sidebar allows the sidebar to fit more characters if you're using Party Limit Begone, has an auto hide option, makes health values easier to see, gives you the option to remove statuses or make them smaller. I personally don't play with Party Limit Begone and quite like the vanilla sidebar, so I just use vanilla with the auto hide on. Better characters and party panels does quite a bit. In brief, it makes it so more information is easy to see at a glance, and makes it so the character or party panel does not overlap with other UI elements. Better Combat Log 2 allows resizing, auto-hiding, and dragging of the combat log. Slightly better Topbar adds AC and health stats to the initiative tracker, with a few other tweaks. Slightly better trade menu cleans up the trade menu and increases the grid size, keeps the portraits on the side, and allows you to use the shift and control functions just like in the party and character menus. You can also opt to keep the vanilla trade menu with some quality of life tweaks. Better target info overhauls the target info you'll see at the top of the screen when hovering over something. It adds gold value for items, number of items in containers, NPC icons, race, resistances, vulnerabilities, as well as improving the readability. It comes with 3 versions, one just having resistances and vulnerabilities if you don't want all the rest of it, and another which shows a damage preview, which is a feature carried over from, you guessed it, damage preview. It has 2 versions, the one we're looking at is for the cursor, as the target info version is made redundant by better target info. While targeting an enemy with an attack, it will calculate chance to hit and the expected damage. Resistances are taken into consideration. Having this mod installed just means you can do less math. It was an experimental feature of Larian's which didn't make the cut for release, and as such, it's infrequently inaccurate, but it's accurate enough to be a really useful tool, and I would not want to play without it. Better Containers has options for different sizes and scale, makes dragging container windows around easier, sorting options easier to access, and the ability to see information such as container name, weight, and gold value. You can still rescale it vertically too, but by default you'll be able to see more and have much more functionality as soon as you open a container. Slightly better Split Item menu removes input delay while splitting items, and adds minimum and maximum selection buttons. faster context menu speeds up the menu which shows when right-clicking. You can speed it up by ×2, but I highly recommend the ×4 variant. If the vanilla speed didn't bother you before, it probably does now. Better hints and new loading screens is essential if you're putting a lot of time into the game. Well, it's important to me. I currently just use the art book loading screen with 47 new pieces of official Larian art. Given that it's a lot of UI mods touching many files, additional information on compatibility can be found on Pavelt's mod compatibility page. For the most part though, you'd be hard pressed to find incompatible mods. Reaction points on UI does what it says on the tin. You can keep track of your reactions just the same as actions and bonus actions. Iconic portrait equipment makes it so all recruitable characters wear their default equipment in portraits just like Origin characters do. Consistency is nice. Tooltip Fixes is a simple mod which corrects the information shown on a couple of items, so that the description actually matches what the item does. The Whispering Promise, for example, seems pretty mediocre when read, but how it actually functions makes it one of the best items in the game. And last, but definitely not least, is a mod I'm in love with, BG2 Mouse Cursors. It's just brimming with nostalgia. You can find all the mods featured in this video and many more over on my Nexus collection page. Remember to endorse mods you like using, subscribe for more BG3 modding content, have a great day, and don't brick your save games.